Hello, friend. Welcome to Science for Sleep. Whether you are returning tonight or discovering this quiet corner for the first time, this is a gentle place to slow down, learn something soft, and let the day slowly fall behind you. Tonight, we are going to drift into the world of ducks. At first, ducks may seem almost too familiar to be mysterious. You may picture one floating on a park pond, leaving a small V-shaped trail behind it, or a line of ducklings crossing a path in spring, or a mallard standing on the edge of a lake, green head shining softly in the light, orange feet placed carefully on the mud. Ducks are animals many people notice without really studying. They live in city parks, farm ponds, roadside ditches, marshes, rivers, lakes, and quiet bays. They are wild, but often close enough to watch. They are common, but not simple. A duck resting beside the water may look peaceful, but inside that small feathered body, there are ancient systems at work. A duck can float, walk, swim, fly, dive, filter food from mud, keep warm in cold water, and sometimes sleep, while still watching the world. One of the strangest things about ducks is that some can sleep with one eye open. This is not just a saying. In mallards, one half of the brain can rest, while the other half stays more alert. This is called unihemispheric sleep. It simply means one side of the brain sleeps more deeply, while the other side remains partly awake. When ducks rest in a row, the ducks on the outside edge are more exposed to danger. Those edge ducks have been observed keeping the outward-facing eye open more often. The open eye connects to the more alert side of the brain. So a duck that seems still and sleepy may be resting and watching at the same time. Half of it softens into sleep. Half of it quietly guards the shore. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, you're welcome to subscribe. And if it feels natural, to leave a comment sharing where you're listening from tonight. It helps others find their way to this calm corner of the world, one sleepy traveler at a time. The quiet continues here, just as it is. Ducks also carry another hidden tool right on their faces. A duckbill is not just a flat beak. For many ducks, especially dabbling ducks like mallards, the bill works almost like a tiny filter. Along the edges inside the bill are small comb-like ridges called lamellae. These ridges help the duck strain food from water, mud, and soft plant matter. When a duck dips its bill below the surface and opens and closes it gently, water can pass through, while small pieces of food are trapped. Seeds, bits of aquatic plants, insect larvae, tiny snails, and other small living things can be sorted from the pond. What looks like casual nibbling is really a quiet search through a muddy world. The duck is not only seeing the pond, it is feeling it. The bill has sensitive nerves that help detect texture and movement, even when the water is cloudy. In a shallow marsh, where mud hides most of the food, touch can matter as much as sight. A mallard tipping forward with its tail in the air may look a little silly from above, but below the surface, its bill is working through a hidden layer of seeds, stems, small shells, and soft sediment. Even the way a duck floats is more complex than it appears. Its body pushes water aside, and the water pushes back upward. Air held among the feathers helps the duck stay buoyant. The feathers overlap in layers, and later, the duck will carefully preen them, spreading oil from a gland near the tail so water beads and rolls away. The pond may look calm. The duck may look ordinary. But the closer you look, the more the ordinary shape begins to open. A bird on the water becomes a sleeper with one eye open. A simple bill becomes a living filter. A floating body becomes a small, warm, feathered vessel, balanced between water, air, and land. And this is where the story of ducks truly begins. Not with noise or speed, but with a familiar animal becoming unfamiliar again. A quiet shape on the pond, holding far more science than it first seems. That quiet shape on the pond begins to feel even stranger when you notice how many places it belongs. A duck can rest on open water, step through grass, lift into the sky, and settle again on a muddy shore. Each movement asks something different from the same body. Water asks the duck to float and push against a surface that moves. Air asks the duck to become light enough for flight, while still strong enough to beat its wings for long distances. Land asks for balance, weight, and the ability to walk on feet that were shaped mainly for swimming. This is why a duck can look graceful in one moment and slightly awkward in another. On the water, a mallard can glide with almost no sound, its chest low, its tail lifted slightly, its feet moving beneath the surface like soft paddles. On land, the same bird waddles because its legs sit farther back on the body than the legs of many ground birds. That rear placement helps with swimming. It gives the feet a better angle to push water behind the body. But on a path or patch of grass, it creates the rolling side-to-side walk that makes ducks so recognizable. A chicken solves a different problem. Its body is shaped mostly for scratching soil, stepping through brush, and taking short bursts into the air when needed. Its toes spread against the ground like little supports. A swift solves a problem at the other extreme. It spends much of life in flight, with long, narrow wings and tiny feet that are poor for walking. A penguin carries the water solution much farther than most ducks. Its wings have become stiff flippers, perfect for swimming underwater, while flight has disappeared from its life completely. A duck sits in the middle of these designs, its wings still lifted into the air, its feet still push it across water, its legs still carry it over land well enough to nest, graze, and lead ducklings from one place to another. The body is a compromise, and that compromise is the secret. A mallard's webbed feet are made from 3 forward toes joined by skin. When the duck pushes backward, the webbing spreads wide and catches the water. When the foot moves forward for the next stroke, the toes close slightly and reduce drag. That simple folding motion makes each kick more efficient. The foot becomes wider when it needs power and slimmer when it needs to return. Above the feet, the body has a broad, boat-like shape. This helps the duck sit steadily on the surface. A narrow bird would tip more easily in small waves. A wide body gives the duck more contact with the water and helps spread its weight. Inside that body, the bones are strong yet light. Like other birds, ducks have air spaces in parts of the skeleton and a breathing system connected to air sacs. These air sacs help move air through the body in a steady one-way flow, which is useful during flight. Flying takes a great amount of oxygen. A duck lifting from the water has to beat its wings hard, especially because water creates extra drag around the feet and lower body. Some ducks run across the surface before takeoff, slapping the water with their feet while the wings build enough lift. Others, like mallards, can spring upward more quickly from a pond or field. The wings are powered by large chest muscles attached to a raised breastbone called the keel. That keel gives the flight muscles a firm place to pull from. Even a duck that looks soft and round on the water carries a strong flight engine beneath its feathers. The feathers themselves solve more than one problem. Outer feathers create a smooth surface that sheds water and shapes the body for flight. Down feathers underneath trap warm air close to the skin. That trapped air helps with warmth and also adds buoyancy, allowing the duck to ride on the pond rather than sink deeply into it. Every part seems to answer more than one need. The same feathers help with warmth, floating, and flight. The same feet help with swimming, steering, and standing. The same broad body steadies the duck on water and carries the muscles needed to rise into the sky. A duck is a small living balance between surfaces. It carries the pond below it, the air above it, and the shore waiting nearby. A body with this many careful compromises was not shaped all at once. It came from older birds, older wetlands, and long stretches of time where each useful trait had to prove itself in water, weather, and flight. The body that balances water, air, and shore has a family history, much older than the pond where it rests. A mallard floating under a willow tree belongs to a bird family called Anatidae. This family includes ducks, geese, and swans. The smallest members, such as teal, can weigh less than half a kilogram. The largest swans can weigh more than 10 kilograms, with wings wide enough to cast a clear shadow across the water. At first, these birds may seem very different. A swan moves with a long neck and heavy grace. A goose walks through grass with a firm, grazing posture. A duck often stays lower to the water, tipping, paddling, or dabbling near the surface. Yet their bodies share the same broad plan. They have webbed feet for pushing water. They have bills shaped for feeding in wet places. They have dense feathers that help manage water and warmth. They have strong wings that allow many species to travel far beyond a single pond or lake. Anatidae is part of a deeper bird group called Anseriformes. That word refers to the larger order of waterfowl. An order is a major branch in animal classification, wider than a family and smaller than a class. In this branch, ducks, geese, and swans sit alongside a few unusual relatives, including screamers from South America and the magpie goose of Australia and New Guinea. Screamers look less like ducks at first glance. They have long legs, loud calls, and feet that are less webbed. The magpie goose has a black and white body, long toes, and a more upright shape. These relatives matter because they show that the waterfowl story is wider than the ducks we usually picture. It includes birds shaped by marshes, floodplains, tropical wetlands, grassy edges, and shallow lakes across different parts of the world. The deeper roots of this group stretch far back in bird evolution. One famous fossil from Antarctica, called Vagavis, lived near the end of the Cretaceous period, about 66 to 69 million years ago. That was close to the time when the non-bird dinosaurs disappeared. Vegavis was not a modern mallard or a farm duck. It was an ancient bird close to the waterfowl line, living in a world where the map of Earth looked very different from today. Antarctica was colder than many regions, but it was not the sealed white continent we know now. Parts of it had forests, coastlines, and wet habitats where birds could feed and move through water. Later, in the early Eocene epoch, around 50 million years ago, another bird called Presbyornis lived near ancient lakes and wetlands. Its fossils have been found in places such as western North America. Presbyornis had long legs like a shorebird, yet its skull and bill showed strong links to waterfowl. It may have walked through shallow water in large groups, feeding in wetlands that spread across warm Eocene landscapes. That kind of animal helps bridge the image between a wading bird and the duck-like forms that would become more familiar later. Wet places were powerful nurseries for this kind of evolution. A wetland gives a bird many chances to survive if its body can solve the right problems. The water contains small animals, seeds, roots, floating plants, and soft mud, rich with hidden food. The shoreline offers places to rest and nest. Open water gives some protection from land predators. Flight allows escape when a pond dries, freezes, floods, or becomes crowded. A bird that could swim well, feed well, and still fly to another wetland had a strong advantage. Over many generations, useful traits were kept and refined. Webbing between the toes made swimming easier. A flatter, more sensitive bill helped sort food from mud and water. Feathers that trapped air improved warmth and buoyancy. Wings strong enough for travel connected one marsh to another. The duck on the pond carries all of this quietly. Its body is a living record of ancient shorelines, changing climates, vanished wetlands, and birds that survived by moving between places. The calm surface of the water hides a timeline that reaches back tens of millions of years. That older story reaches even deeper than waterfowl themselves, because every duck also belongs to the greater history of birds, and every bird carries a surprising link to the age of dinosaurs. The thread running out of those ancient wetlands reaches into a much older world. Every duck belongs to the living bird class Aves. Modern birds are the only dinosaur line still alive today. They come from a branch called theropods. Theropods were mostly two-legged dinosaurs, and the group included both large hunters and smaller feathered species. The duck on a pond is part of that same broad family tree, softened by time into a round body, webbed feet, and quiet feathers. This can feel surprising because a duck seems so gentle. It lowers its head into the water. It shakes droplets from its bill. It folds its feet beneath its body and rests near the reeds. Yet its deeper ancestry reaches back to animals that walked through Jurassic and Cretaceous landscapes more than 66 million years ago. The link is held in bones, eggs, feathers, and the shape of the skeleton. Birds and theropod dinosaurs share hollow bones, wishbones, three-toed limbs, and eggs with hard shells. The wishbone, also called the furcula, works like a spring in modern birds during flight. In older theropods, it was already present before true birds filled the sky. Feathers also began before modern bird flight. Some ancient dinosaurs had simple feather-like coverings that likely helped keep the body warm. Others had more complex feathers that may have been used for display, helping animals show size, color, or health. A fossil such as Archaeopteryx from about 150 million years ago shows a blend of features. It had feathers and wings, along with teeth and a long, bony tail. Later discoveries in China, including small feathered dinosaurs from Liaoning province, revealed that feathers were widespread across some dinosaur groups. Those fossils changed how scientists pictured the past. Feathers were part of the dinosaur world before they became the flight feathers of ducks, swallows, owls, and geese. In a duck, feathers now serve many careful purposes. The outer feathers shape the body for moving through air and shedding water. The softer down beneath traps warmth close to the skin. Color patterns help with display and camouflage. A male mallard's green head can shine in sunlight because tiny structures in the feathers reflect light in a special way. The color is produced by the feather surface interacting with light, rather than by simple green pigment alone. That shimmer belongs to the same long feather story that began in ancient bodies under ancient skies. Then came the Great Break at the end of the Cretaceous period. About 66 million years ago, an asteroid struck near what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The impact left a huge buried crater called Chicxulub, more than 180 kilometers wide. Dust and gases spread through the atmosphere. Sunlight was reduced. Food chains changed across land and sea. Many groups vanished, including the non-bird dinosaurs. Some bird lineages survived. Scientists still study why. Small body size may have helped. Seeds may have been important food when forests and many other food sources were damaged. Birds that could fly, move widely, nest in sheltered places, or feed in flexible ways may have had better chances. The survivors did not simply remain the same. Over millions of years, bird lineages spread into open skies, forests, shorelines, grasslands, cliffs, islands, marshes, and rivers. Some became fast-winged hunters. Some became tiny nectar feeders. Some became ocean wanderers. In wet places, the ancestors of waterfowl found a powerful path. Water gave food and safety. Shorelines gave nesting space. Flight allowed movement when one pond dried and another opened. The duck shape slowly became a useful answer to a changing planet. A bird that could float, feed in mud, lift into the air, and settle again on water had many ways to endure. So the mallard in a city park carries a strange, calm inheritance. Its feathers began as ancient body covering. Its bones carry the lightness of flight. Its egg, its wings, its wishbone, and its warm body all belong to a story that passed through extinction and kept unfolding. The surface scene remains peaceful. A duck drifts through the reflection of trees. Behind that small moving shape is survival across deep time. And that survival becomes easier to understand when the story returns to the wet places that shaped the first waterfowl. The wet places that shaped waterfowl were never empty backgrounds. A marsh is full of edges. Water presses into grass. Mud holds the prints of feet. Roots reach below the surface. Small insects rise from stems, and seeds drift into quiet corners where the current slows. For an animal built from ancient survival, this kind of place offered more than shelter. it offered many ways to live. A wetland can be a shallow pond, a reed-filled marsh, a flooded river plain, a bog, a swamp, or a seasonal pool that appears after rain and vanishes in dry months. Some wetlands hold water all year. Others change from week to week. After spring snowmelt, a low field can become a feeding ground. By late summer, that same place may shrink into cracked mud and scattered plants. Ducks became successful partly because they could use these changing places without needing them to stay the same. A forest bird may depend on branches, trunks, and insects hidden in bark. An open ocean bird may spend much of its life over deep water, far from shore. Many ducks are shaped for the soft border between firm ground and open water. That border is messy, rich, and unstable. It is also full of food. In shallow water, sunlight can reach the bottom. That light helps aquatic plants grow. Plants create hiding places for snails, insect larvae, tiny crustaceans, tadpoles, and small fish. Seeds collect in the mud. Floating leaves make cover. Rotting plant matter feeds bacteria and small animals, which then feed larger animals. A duck moving through that system is surrounded by possible meals. A mallard may dabble near the surface, taking seeds from smartweed, pondweed, sedges, or wild rice. A northern shoveler uses its wide bill to strain tiny animals from the water. A canvasback often feeds on underwater plant parts, including tubers, which are swollen storage roots. A merganser, with a narrower bill and tooth-like edges, is better suited to catching fish. Different ducks found different ways to use the same watery world. Soft mud mattered too. Mud may look lifeless from above, yet it can hold insect larvae, worms, buried seeds, tiny shells, and plant roots. When a duck tips forward with its tail pointed upward, its head may be working through that hidden layer. The bill touches and sorts. The feet help steady the body. The broad chest floats at the surface while the neck reaches down into the shallows. That simple feeding posture is really a wetland posture. It makes sense only where the water is shallow enough to reach through. Wetlands also gave ducks places to nest. Many species build nests on the ground, tucked into grasses, reeds, sedges, or low shrubs near water. A female mallard may line her nest with down feathers pulled from her own body. Those soft feathers help cover and warm the eggs when she leaves briefly to feed. Other ducks use tree cavities. Wood ducks, for example, nest in holes in trees near wooded wetlands, sometimes several meters above the ground. Their ducklings hatch with tiny claws on their feet, then climb out and drop safely to the forest floor or water below. The wetland is nursery, pantry, resting place, and escape route. Water slows many land predators. Thick reeds hide nests and young birds. Open water gives adults room to lift away if danger comes close. Temporary wetlands can be especially important because fish may be absent there. Without fish eating so many small aquatic insects and tadpoles, the water can become rich with food for young ducks. In North America, the prairie pothole region is famous for this. It stretches across parts of Canada and the northern United States, where old glaciers left thousands of small depressions. In wet years, Those shallow basins fill with water and become some of the most important duck breeding habitat on the continent. The duck body begins to look less random in such a place. Webbed feet answer the water. A flat, sensitive bill answers the mud. Waterproof feathers answer the wet surface. Strong wings answer the fact that ponds appear, shrink, freeze, and disappear. The whole animal seems shaped by places that never hold still for long. A duck resting on a marsh is carrying the wetland inside its design, and that design becomes clearest when the body settles onto the water and floats. A duck settles onto water with such ease that the pond seems to hold it gently in place. The body lowers just enough to make a soft oval in the surface. Tiny ripples move away from the chest. The tail rides behind like a small rudder. To float, the duck has to push water aside. This is called displacement. When an object enters water, it makes room for itself by moving some of that water out of the way. The water then pushes upward. If that upward push is strong enough to support the object's weight, the object floats. A duck is shaped in a way that helps this happen smoothly. Its body is broad across the chest and belly, so its weight spreads over a wider area. A narrow, heavy animal would press deeper into the water. The duck's rounded body spreads its weight like a small boat. From the side, a mallard looks soft and compact, yet its shape is useful. The lower body sits against the water. The upper body stays dry enough to hold warmth and allow quick movement. Air also plays an important role. Ducks carry air in several places. Some air is held inside the body through the bird-breathing system. Some is trapped among the feathers. The outer feathers form a layered surface, while the softer down underneath holds pockets of still air close to the skin. Air is lighter than water, so those tiny pockets help add buoyancy. Buoyancy is the upward support that lets something stay afloat. The duck does not need to work constantly to remain on the surface. Its shape, feathers, and trapped air do much of that work quietly. The skeleton helps too. Like many birds, ducks have bones that are strong for their size while keeping body weight lower than it would be in many land mammals of similar volume. Some bird bones contain air spaces, and the body is supported by a system of air sacs linked to the lungs. Those air sacs help move fresh air through the body during breathing, which matters during flight. They also add to the lightness of the whole animal. A duck still has to be strong. Taking off from water requires hard wing beats. Swimming against wind or current takes steady muscle. Landing on a lake at speed demands a body that can absorb force without injury. So the duck's frame carries a careful balance. It is light enough to fly. It is sturdy enough to swim. On the surface, a duck can change how it sits. During rest, it may ride higher, with the body relaxed and the feathers slightly fluffed. Those raised feathers can trap more air, creating a softer layer around the body. In colder weather, this can help hold warmth. During feeding, the posture changes. A dabbling duck like a mallard may tip forward, lowering the head and neck into the water, while the tail points upward. The body becomes a floating pivot. The breast stays supported at the surface while the bill reaches into plants and mud below. A diving duck uses the water differently. Species such as scaup, canvasbacks, and mergansers often ride lower in the water than mallards. Their bodies are denser and more suited to slipping below the surface. A canvasback can dive to reach underwater plant parts, while a merganser may chase small fish with a slimmer body and narrow bill. These ducks still float when resting, but their posture hints at a life spent going deeper. Even a floating duck is always making small adjustments. A slight shift of the feet can turn the body. A small lift of the chest can change how high it rides. The tail can help steer. The neck moves like a counterweight, balancing the body as it feeds, watches, or prepares to move. Wind also changes the picture. On a calm pond, a duck may drift with barely visible effort. On choppy water, the same bird rises and dips with small waves, using tiny foot movements to keep its position. From a distance, the duck still looks peaceful. Up close, floating becomes a set of quiet corrections. The water presses upward. The feathers hold air. The body shifts with each ripple. A duck floating on a pond is resting on physics, biology, and careful featherwork all at once. That calm surface depends on something fragile. The feathers must keep their structure. The trapped air must stay in place. Water must roll away instead of soaking through. So the next part of the duck's story begins at the surface of the body, where each feather helps decide whether the pond remains a resting place or becomes a danger. At the surface of a duck's body, the pond meets a carefully arranged wall of feathers. Each feather has a place. The outer feathers lie over one another in neat layers, like small shingles on a roof. Rain, pond water, and spray slide across those layers instead of passing straight down to the skin. A mallard can dip its head below the surface, shake once, and send bright droplets scattering away. That simple shake works because the feather coat is built as a flexible barrier. A single feather is more detailed than it looks. Down the center runs a shaft. From that shaft spread smaller branches called barbs. Along the barbs are even smaller hooks called barbules. These tiny hooks lock neighboring parts of the feather together, making a smooth surface. When the surface is lined up properly, water beads on it and rolls away. When the tiny hooks are loose or dirty, gaps can open, and water can begin to creep inward. This is why ducks spend so much time preening. Preening is the careful cleaning and arranging of feathers. A resting duck may turn its head backward, reach toward the tail, and work through its feathers with slow, repeated movements of the bill. Near the base of the tail is a small oil gland called the uropygial gland. The word sounds complicated, but it simply refers to the preen gland found in many birds. The duck presses or rubs its bill near this gland, gathers a little oily material, then spreads it through the feather coat. The oil helps condition the feathers and supports the water-shedding surface. The bill also does mechanical work. As the duck nibbles and draws feathers through its bill, it cleans away dirt and helps reconnect the tiny hooks in the feather structure. A feather can become more useful again simply by being zipped back into shape. This quiet grooming can take many minutes. After feeding, bathing, or swimming through muddy water, a duck may settle near the shore and preen carefully from chest to wing to tail. The movement looks calm, almost sleepy. Inside that calm habit is daily maintenance. A duck's body depends on this care. If the feather layers fail, water can soak closer to the skin. Wet feathers become heavy. They also lose many of the air pockets that help the duck float and stay warm. The soft down beneath the outer feathers works best when it holds still air. Still air is a poor conductor of heat, meaning it does not pull warmth away quickly. That trapped layer helps keep the duck's body warm, even while cold water touches the outside. Once water replaces the air, warmth can leave much faster. For a bird that spends hours on ponds, rivers, and marshes, that difference matters. A soaked duck would need more energy to stay warm. Swimming would become harder because the feather coat would carry extra weight. Flight could also suffer. Wings need clean, aligned feathers to move air well. A wing feather with broken or separated parts cannot support flight as smoothly. This is one reason oil spills are so dangerous for water birds. Oil can mat feathers, break the natural structure, and remove the clean separation that holds air in place. Even a small amount can reduce waterproofing and make a bird colder, heavier, and less able to move. Healthy feathers let ducks live in places that would challenge many other birds. A mallard can sit through steady rain on a northern pond. An eider can rest on cold coastal water. A wood duck can slip through shaded wetlands where branches drip after a storm. Across these places, the same basic feather system keeps water mostly outside the body. The surface remains organized. The air stays trapped. The warm skin stays protected beneath layers of structure and care. A duck preening beside the water is doing more than tidying itself. It is restoring the boundary between its body and the wet world around it. The pond can stay below. The rain can slide away. The feathers can hold their hidden air. Once that outer barrier is working, a deeper challenge remains inside the living body. The water may be kept away from the skin, but cold still surrounds the duck, touching its feet, its bill, and the air it breathes above the pond. Cold water keeps pressing against the duck from below. Even with dry feathers and trapped air, the body still has to protect its warmth. A duck is a warm-blooded bird, which means it makes heat inside its own body and keeps its inner temperature within a narrow range. For many birds, that internal temperature sits around 40 to 42 degrees Celsius. That is warmer than the human body. A duck floating on a grey winter pond is carrying that warmth just above water, that may be only a few degrees above freezing. The contrast can be easy to miss. The pond looks still. The bird looks calm. Yet heat is always trying to move from the warmer body into the colder world around it. Water pulls heat away much faster than air. A person standing in cold water feels chilled quickly because water touches the skin closely and carries warmth away. A duck avoids much of that danger through its feather coat, but some body parts remain exposed. The feet touch cold water, mud, snow, or ice directly. The legs are thin. The skin has very little insulation compared with the body. A duck standing on ice seems as though it should be losing heat through its feet every moment. The solution lies in the way blood moves. Warm blood travels from the body down into the legs through arteries. Cooler blood travels back upward through veins. In many ducks and other water birds, those arteries and veins run close together. As warm blood moves downward, it passes heat, to the cooler blood moving upward. This is called countercurrent heat exchange. Countercurrent means two flows moving in opposite directions beside each other. Heat exchange means warmth passes from one flow to the other. The system works like a quiet recycling loop. By the time blood reaches the feet, it has already given away much of its heat to blood returning to the body. The feet can stay much cooler than the chest, belly, and organs. Cool feet lose less heat to ice and water because the temperature gap is smaller. At the same time, the blood coming back toward the body is warmed before it reaches the core. The duck keeps more warmth where it matters most. The heart, lungs, muscles, and organs remain protected. This is why a mallard can stand on a frozen pond edge without its whole body cooling at the same rate as its feet. The feet may feel cold by human standards. For the duck, that is part of the design. Less warmth is sent into the exposed parts, so less warmth is lost. The structure of the legs helps too. A duck's lower legs and feet contain tendons, bones, blood vessels, nerves, and skin, with much less bulky muscle than the warm body above. The main muscles that move the leg sit higher, closer to the protected body. Long tendons run downward to help control the feet. This arrangement reduces the amount of warm tissue exposed to cold water. A similar pattern appears in other birds that stand in cold places, such as gulls, geese, and shorebirds. It allows them to rest on wet sand, frozen mud, or ice without sending too much body heat into the ground. Behavior adds another layer. A duck may tuck one foot into its feathers while standing. It may sit low, covering both feet beneath the warm belly. On windy days, birds often turn their bodies to reduce heat loss. During rest, feathers can fluff slightly, increasing the layer of trapped air. Each small adjustment helps the body spend less energy. Energy matters because heat has a cost. Food becomes fuel. Seeds, roots, insects, snails, and small aquatic animals all become part of the warmth inside the bird. A duck that saves heat does not need to replace as much heat with food. In winter, when daylight is shorter and ponds may freeze, this can become important. Warmth, then, is managed through feathers, blood flow, posture, and behavior. The duck is not simply waiting out the cold. Its body is constantly sorting where warmth should stay and where cooler tissue can safely touch the world. A bird resting on icy water becomes a small heat system, soft on the surface and carefully regulated underneath. Yet the feet that save heat must also do delicate work. They have to push water, steer the body, brake on landing, grip mud, and carry the duck over uneven ground. Surviving the cold is only part of their task. Those same orange feet must also turn quiet warmth into movement. Those orange feet, kept cool by careful blood flow, become powerful once they slip below the surface. Above the water, they can look plain and slightly clumsy. A mallard stepping across grass has a rocking walk because its legs sit far back on the body. That position is useful in water, where the feet need to push from behind the center of mass. On land, the same placement makes each step roll gently from side to side. Under the pond, the foot changes character. Each foot has 3 main forward toes, joined by a sheet of skin called webbing. A smaller hind toe sits behind. When the duck pulls its foot backward through the water, the forward toes spread apart. the webbing opens wide. More surface area presses against the water, giving the push more power. The movement is similar to an oar pressing through a lake, although the duck's foot is more flexible than wood or metal. It changes shape during each stroke. At the end of the push, the foot has moved water backward. The duck's body moves forward. Then the leg has to return for the next stroke without slowing the bird down too much. As the foot swings forward again, the toes draw closer together. The webbing folds into a slimmer shape. Less surface presses against the water, so there is less drag. Drag is the force that resists movement through water or air. By spreading during the power stroke and narrowing during the recovery stroke, the foot becomes a paddle that opens and closes. The motion is quiet because most of it happens below the surface. A duck gliding across a pond may seem to be drifting, while the feet are making small, steady corrections in the green-brown water underneath. The feet do more than push straight backward. They also steer. A duck can paddle harder with one foot than the other, turning the body gently to the side. It can use both feet at once to move forward. It can angle one foot to slow itself almost like a brake. When a duck lands on water, its feet may stretch forward and touch the surface first, helping the bird skid and slow before the body settles. During takeoff, the feet can slap against the water while the wings build lift. Some ducks rise quickly from the surface. Others need a longer running start, especially heavier diving ducks. The shape of the foot also matters in mud. A webbed foot spreads the duck's weight over a wider area, which can help it move through soft shorelines without sinking as deeply as a narrow foot might. In shallow marshes, a duck may walk through wet plants, floating stems, and soft sediment while searching for food. The broad foot gives support where the ground shifts under every step. Different ducks show different versions of this design. Mallards, teal, and shovelers often feed in shallow water, so their feet support both floating and surface paddling. Diving ducks, such as scaup and canvasbacks, tend to have legs set farther back, which gives them stronger underwater propulsion. That can make them less graceful on land, but more effective when they dive below the surface. Mergansers, which chase fish, use their feet to drive themselves through water, while their narrow bills help seize slippery prey. A duck's foot is also connected to the larger rhythm of the body. The leg muscles higher up provide force. Long tendons carry that force down toward the toes. The ankle and toe joints adjust the spread of the webbing. The body stays balanced by small shifts of the neck, tail, and wings. Everything works together so the bird can move without wasting much energy. From above, a duck crossing a pond may leave only a thin wake behind it. The head stays level. The body rides smoothly. The feet do their work out of sight. This hidden motion gives the duck its calm surface life. It can drift toward floating seeds, turn beside reeds, follow another bird, or move away from danger without breaking the peaceful shape of the pond. The feet explain the glide, the turning, and the soft control beneath the water. Feeding depends on another tool, one that reaches into mud and cloudy water with a kind of sensitivity the feet could never provide. The body can carry the duck to the food, but the bill is what begins to read the pond. The feet carry the duck across the water, but the bill begins the search. A duck lowers its head into the shallows and touches a world that human eyes can barely see. Mud clouds around the face. Tiny bubbles rise from plant stems. Small bits of leaf, seed, shell, and insect drift through the water. To a mallard, that cloudy mixture is full of information. The bill is shaped to gather it. A duck's bill is made from two bony parts covered in a hard outer layer of keratin. Keratin is the same tough material found in human fingernails and bird claws. At the very tip of the upper bill is a small hardened area often called the nail. A duck can use this tip to pinch, grip, scrape, and pick at food. Along the inside edges of many duck bills are fine comb-like ridges called lamellae. Lamellae work like a strainer. When water enters the bill, the tongue and bill movements help push that water back out through the sides. Small food pieces can remain trapped inside. A mallard feeding in shallow water may take in plant seeds, soft leaves, insect larvae, tiny snails, and other small animals. The motion can look casual from above. Under the surface, the bill is sorting matter from water in a steady rhythm. Northern shovelers show this filter design in an especially clear way. Their bills are wide and spoon-shaped, giving them one of the most recognizable faces among ducks. Along the edges are many fine lamellae that help strain tiny crustaceans, insects, and seeds from the water. A shoveler may swim in circles or sweep its bill side to side, stirring food into reach. The wide bill becomes a living sieve moving through the pond. A mallard's bill is less dramatic, but it still carries the same basic idea. It can pick up larger pieces, strain smaller ones, and feel its way through mud. Touch matters because wetland water is often murky. In a marsh, sunlight may reflect on the surface while the bottom stays brown and hidden. A duck cannot always see what its bill is touching. Sensitive nerve endings in the bill help detect pressure, shape, and movement. These tiny sensors can register contact with grit, stems, small shells, and soft food. Some birds have especially sensitive bill tips, allowing them to feed by touch in places where vision gives little help. For ducks, this matters in water filled with silt, algae, floating plants, or shadow. The tongue also plays a part. A duck tongue is shaped to help move food inside the bill. It works with the lamellae, the bill edges, and the small movements of the jaws. When a duck opens and closes its bill in water, the movement can pump liquid through the filtering edges. Small items stay behind long enough to be swallowed. Larger pieces may be shifted, crushed slightly, or released if they are unsuitable. Different ducks carry different bills because they use the pond in different ways. A mallard has a general-purpose dabbling bill, useful for plants, seeds, and small animals in shallow water. A northern pintail can feed in marshes and flooded fields, taking seeds and aquatic invertebrates. A canvasback has a stronger bill for digging and pulling at underwater plant parts, including the storage roots of plants such as wild celery. A merganser has a narrow bill with saw-like edges, useful for gripping fish that would slip away from a smoother bill. Each bill tells part of the feeding story before the duck even moves. A pond can hold many kinds of food at the same time. Seeds may collect along the muddy bottom. Mosquito larvae hang near the surface. Snails cling to stems. Small crustaceans move through open water. Aquatic plants grow from soft sediment and spread leaves into the light. A duck does not need to use every part of that menu. Its bill guides it toward the foods its body is best prepared to handle. This makes the quiet act of feeding much more precise than it appears. The duck dips, strains, feels, lifts, and swallows. A small ripple spreads outward. The head rises with droplets falling from the bill. Then the bird lowers its face again, reading the pond through touch and pressure. Once the bill is understood, ducks begin to separate into different ways of life. Some stay near the surface and tip gently into the shallows. Others disappear below, following food into deeper water, where the whole body must become part of the search. The bill leads the duck into the pond, and the whole body follows in different ways. A mallard often feeds where the water is shallow enough for its neck to reach the bottom. It lowers its head, tips its body forward, and leaves its tail pointing into the air. This feeding style is called dabbling. A dabbling duck usually stays near the surface while searching through mud, stems, and floating plants. The familiar upside-down mallard is a perfect image of this life. The orange feet paddle gently to hold position. The broad body floats like a cork. The bill works below the surface, touching and filtering through soft sediment. Dabblers often feed in marshes, flooded fields, pond edges, and quiet backwaters. Mallards, northern pintails, American black ducks, gadwalls, teal, and northern shovelers all belong to this general feeding world. They may eat the seeds of sedges, grasses, pondweeds, and smartweeds. They may also take insect larvae, small snails, tiny crustaceans, and bits of soft aquatic vegetation. Their diet changes with season. In spring and summer, many ducks need more protein for egg laying, molting, and raising young. Aquatic insects and other small animals become especially valuable. In fall and winter, seeds and plant foods can provide steady energy for migration and cold weather. A diving duck uses the pond in a deeper way. Instead of tipping at the surface, it slips below. The body disappears, leaving only a ring of ripples behind. Diving ducks often have legs placed farther back on the body, which gives them stronger push underwater. That shape can make walking on land more awkward, but below the surface it becomes useful. The feet drive the body forward. The wings may stay folded, or in some species help with movement underwater. The bird searches where dabbling ducks cannot easily reach. Canvasbacks are known for feeding on underwater plants, especially wild celery, a plant that grows with long ribbon-like leaves and nutrient-rich parts buried in the sediment. The canvasback's sloping head and strong bill fit a life of pulling food from deeper water. Scalp often dive for clams, snails, and other small animals on the bottom. A scalp may feed several meters below the surface, where light fades and the pond becomes cooler and quieter. Mergansers follow a more active path. Their bills are narrow, with saw-like edges that help grip fish. A common merganser may swim low in the water, then dive after minnows or other small fish, with quick underwater movements. Its red-orange bill closes around prey that would be hard to hold with a smooth, flat bill. Sea ducks carry the diving life even farther. Eiders, scoters, long-tailed ducks, and goldeneyes often feed in coastal waters, large lakes, or northern seas. Some take mussels and clams from the bottom. Others chase small animals through cold water. The common eider, a heavy sea duck of Arctic and northern coastal regions, can dive for shellfish and rest on water that would seem harsh to many birds. Its thick down has also been valued by humans for centuries because it traps warmth so well. These feeding styles divide the water into layers. A shallow marsh edge may belong to dabblers. A deeper bay may draw divers. A rocky coast may support sea ducks that search among mussels and kelp. A wooded pond may hold wood ducks near overhanging branches, feeding on acorns, seeds, fruits, and insects. Even the same duck can change its menu as the year turns. A young bird growing feathers needs different food from an adult resting in winter. A female producing eggs needs calcium, protein, and enough energy to build the next generation. A migrating bird needs fuel stored in the body before a long flight. The pond begins to feel less like one simple surface. Near the reeds, tiny larvae cling to stems. In the mud, seeds wait under a thin layer of silt. Farther out, plant roots spread beneath open water. Below that, snails, clams, and small fish move through dimmer spaces. Different ducks enter different parts of this hidden arrangement. Each bill, foot, body shape, and feeding habit draws a quiet map of where that bird belongs. A flock on the water may look like a loose gathering of similar animals. Closer attention shows many ways of living side by side. The surface holds dabblers. The depths hold divers. The shore holds seeds, insects, roots, and shelter. Once the pond opens into these layers, the duck no longer seems separate from the place around it. Its feeding reaches into plants, mud, small animals, and water itself, turning a quiet wetland into a moving web of life. The layered pond now begins to move as one connected place. A duck feeding near the reeds touches more than water. Its bill reaches into plant stems, insect larvae, soft mud, buried seeds, and tiny animals that spend much of life hidden from sight. Around that feeding bird, the wetland is busy in small, quiet ways. Mosquito larvae hang near the surface and breathe through tiny tubes. Dragonfly nymphs crawl along underwater stems, hunting with a hinged lower mouth that can snap forward. Snails scrape algae from leaves and stones. Tadpoles graze on soft plant growth before their bodies slowly change into frogs. Bacteria and fungi break down dead leaves, old stems, feathers, and droppings, turning them into nutrients that plants can use again. A pond may look like a sheet of green or brown water from above. Inside it, energy is always moving. Sunlight feeds algae and aquatic plants. Plants feed insects, snails, and small crustaceans. Those small animals feed fish, frogs, turtles, and birds. Larger predators may arrive quietly from the edge. A mink can slip through shoreline grass. A snapping turtle may wait below the surface. A heron can stand motionless in the shallows, watching for movement with its long neck held still. Ducks fit into this web from several directions at once. A mallard may eat seeds from pondweed and smartweed. During nesting season, the same bird may take more protein-rich insects and small aquatic animals. A duckling in its first weeks often feeds heavily on tiny invertebrates because growing feathers, muscles, and bones requires rich food. Invertebrates are animals without backbones, such as insects, snails, worms, and small crustaceans. Those little bodies become part of the duck's body. Later, the duck's droppings return nutrients to the water and soil. Nitrogen and phosphorus, two important plant nutrients, can move through wetland systems this way. Too much of these nutrients can cause problems, especially when fertilizer or waste runs into ponds from outside. In a balanced wetland, though, nutrients pass through many living forms. A duck feeding in shallow water can also stir the bottom. Its bill probes mud. Its feet push against soft sediment. Fine particles rise into the water, then settle again. This stirring can uncover buried seeds or loosen small animals hiding just beneath the surface. It can also move nutrients from the mud back into the water, where algae and plants may use them. In shallow marshes, repeated feeding by many waterfowl can influence which plants grow thickly and which are grazed down. Some ducks eat tender shoots, floating leaves, or underwater plant parts. Others disturb the bottom enough to create small open patches among plants. Those open patches can let light reach different areas of the water. A wetland changes through these small actions, repeated many times across days and seasons. The duck is also food for other animals at different stages of life. Eggs may be eaten by raccoons, foxes, skunks, crows, gulls, or snakes. Ducklings face danger from large fish, turtles, herons, owls, and mammals along the shore. Adult ducks are stronger and more watchful, yet eagles, hawks, coyotes, foxes, and other predators may still hunt them. Predation sounds harsh, but it is part of how energy moves through the wetland. The plants grow from sunlight and soil. The small animals feed on plants, algae, and decaying matter. The duck gathers some of that life into itself. A predator may later gather the duck's energy into its own body. Even after death, microbes continue the movement by breaking tissues down into simpler materials. Nothing in the pond is truly separate for long. A fallen reed becomes food for microbes. A mosquito larva becomes food for a duckling. A seed swallowed in one cove may pass into the mud of another. A feather dropped during molting may drift against a root and slowly decay. The pond beneath the duck is made from countless exchanges like these. Mud holds old leaves and sleeping seeds. Roots hold the shoreline together. Eggs wait in hidden nests. Larvae move through stems. Nutrients flow in water too cloudy to see through. The duck floats above it all, yet each dip of the bill and each push of the feet joins the motion below. Its body becomes one of the ways the wetland rearranges itself. Pieces of the pond enter the duck, travel with it, and return to the water in altered form. That movement does not end at the edge of a single marsh. A duck can lift from one pond in the evening and settle on another by morning, carrying tiny traces of one wet place into the next. When a duck leaves one pond and lands on another, it may bring more than its own body. Small pieces of the first wetland can travel with it. Mud can cling to the feet. Seeds can hide between feathers. Plant material can pass through the gut and return to the world in a new place. This quiet movement is one reason ducks can act like gardeners of wetlands, A gardener usually places seeds on purpose. A duck does it by feeding, walking, preening, and flying. In shallow water, ducks often eat seeds from sedges, grasses, smartweeds, pondweeds, and wild rice. Some seeds are crushed and digested. Others are tough enough to pass through the digestive system. The trip through the body may take only a few hours, depending on the size of the food and the bird. By the time the duck releases droppings, it may already be in a different cove, pond, marsh, or flooded field. The seed lands with moisture and nutrients around it. If the place is suitable, that seed may begin to grow. This kind of movement is called seed dispersal. Dispersal simply means spreading from one place to another. Wind disperses dandelion seeds. Rivers carry floating seeds downstream. Squirrels bury acorns and forget some of them. Ducks can move wetland plants across water and sky. A mallard feeding in one marsh at sunset may rest in another wetland before morning. A teal can use temporary pools that appear after rain. A gadwall may graze on aquatic vegetation, then fly to a safer resting place. Each movement gives small living things a chance to travel. The outside of the body can carry life too. Wet mud can stick to webbed feet, especially when a duck walks through soft shorelines. That mud may contain seeds, algae, microscopic eggs, and tiny resting stages of aquatic animals. A resting stage is a tough form that some small organisms use to survive drying, freezing, or other difficult conditions. Water fleas, for example, can produce durable eggs that wait until the right conditions return. Some small aquatic creatures survive as cysts, which are protected forms sealed inside a tough outer layer. These tiny packages can remain hidden in mud until they reach water again. A duck lifting from one muddy pool may carry a few of them on its feet or feathers. Most will never survive the journey. A few may reach another wet place. Across thousands of birds and thousands of flights, rare events can begin to matter. This helps explain a quiet puzzle. Sometimes isolated ponds contain plants and tiny animals, even though no stream visibly connects them to other waters. Wind can move some forms of life. Floods can connect places for a short time. Humans may carry plants, fish, or mud without noticing. Birds add another pathway. Ducks do not need a visible channel between ponds. Their bodies can become the channel. Scientists have even found that, in rare cases, fish eggs may survive passage through a duck's digestive system. The chance is very small. Most eggs are damaged or digested. Still, experiments with mallards have shown that a tiny number can pass through and later hatch. That fact does not mean ducks are constantly stocking ponds with fish. It shows that nature sometimes moves life through routes that seem almost hidden. A fish may begin in one body of water because an egg survived inside a bird crossing the land between them. Plant seeds are much more common travelers. Wetland plants often produce many seeds because most will fail. A single plant may release hundreds or thousands into mud and water. Ducks feeding through that abundance may become part of the plant's wider reach. As seasons change, the scale grows larger. A local evening flight can connect nearby ponds. A weekly movement can connect wetlands across a valley. Migration can connect whole regions. The prairie pothole region, the Great Lakes, the Mississippi River corridor, coastal marshes, northern breeding grounds, and southern wintering areas can all become linked by moving waterfowl. A duck is small compared with a continent, yet its path can stitch distant wetlands together, one feeding stop and one resting place at a time. The pond no longer feels isolated. Each marsh becomes part of a wider living pattern. A seed swallowed in one place may fall in another. A fleck of mud can carry a hidden egg. A bird rising from the reeds may lift a small piece of that wetland into the sky. As ducks begin to move beyond the local pond, their story stretches into weather, daylight, distance, and the old seasonal maps carried inside the body. A duck rising from the reeds can carry a wetland with it, and it can also leave the wetland behind. When the season turns, many ducks begin to follow a much larger pattern. The same bird that spent an afternoon filtering seeds from a pond may later cross forests, farms, rivers, lakes, coastlines, and open sky. Migration is seasonal movement between places used for breeding, feeding, resting, or surviving winter. For ducks, this movement often follows water. They need open water for safety and feeding. They need wetlands rich enough to support nesting females and growing ducklings. They need winter places where ice does not close every pond and river. A mallard in southern Canada may stay through winter if food and open water remain nearby. A northern pintail breeding in Alaska or the Canadian Arctic may travel thousands of kilometers to winter in California, Mexico, or the southern United States. A blue-winged teal can leave northern breeding marshes and spend winter as far south as Central America or northern South America. The distance depends on species, weather, age, and local conditions. The trigger for migration begins quietly. As days grow shorter in late summer and autumn, the changing length of daylight affects hormones inside the bird. Daylight acts like a calendar written in the sky. It helps prepare the body for movement before the coldest weather arrives. Many ducks build fat reserves before long flights. Fat is dense fuel. Gram for gram, it stores more than twice as much energy as protein or carbohydrate. A migrating duck may feed heavily in marshes, grain fields, shallow lakes, or coastal flats, turning food into the stored energy needed for hours of flight. Weather then shapes the timing. A cold front can push ducks south when ponds begin to freeze. A favorable tailwind can make flight easier by moving in the same direction as the bird. Strong headwinds can slow travel or hold birds in place until conditions improve. Many ducks migrate at night, when the air can be calmer, and the risk from some daytime predators is lower. In darkness, the flock may pass high above towns and fields, while most people below are asleep. Navigation comes from several kinds of information working together. Landmarks matter. A duck may follow river valleys, coastlines, lake chains, mountain edges, or broad wetland regions. Young birds can learn routes by traveling with experienced adults. Inherited behavior also matters, giving birds a built-in tendency to move in certain directions at certain times. The sky may help too. Many migrating birds can use the position of the sun, and some can use star patterns during night travel. Scientists have also found evidence that birds can sense Earth's magnetic field. This magnetic sense may help them judge direction when clouds hide the stars, or when familiar landmarks are far below. The exact details are still being studied, but the result is visible each year, when birds return to the same broad regions with remarkable consistency. A duck does not need to understand a map the way a person does. Its body responds to daylight, weather, stored energy, social cues, and signals from the world around it. Each signal narrows the path. A flock lifting from a northern marsh in October may seem sudden, yet the preparation has been building for weeks. Feathers have been replaced after molt. Muscles are ready for flight. Fat has gathered under the skin and around the body. The route ahead may include several stops rather than one endless journey. A duck may rest on a lake for days, feed in flooded fields, then continue when wind and weather allow. These resting places are as important as the start and end points. Without them, the journey becomes much harder. A small wetland in the middle of a migration route can hold real value because it gives tired birds a place to land, feed, preen, and sleep. The local pond now opens into a seasonal system, stretching across great distances. A duck is no longer only a bird of one marsh. It becomes part of a moving rhythm that joins northern nesting grounds with southern winter waters. That rhythm does not spread randomly across the continent. It gathers into broad paths shaped by rivers, coastlines, plains, mountains, and chains of wetlands that guide waterfowl through the sky. Those broad paths through the sky are called flyways. A flyway is a migration corridor, shaped by land, water, weather, and the places where birds can safely stop. In North America, waterfowl movements are often described through four major flyways. The Pacific Flyway follows the western side of the continent, including Alaska, British Columbia, California, and the coastal wetlands of Mexico. The Central Flyway runs through the Great Plains, where prairie potholes, rivers, reservoirs, and farm fields form a long chain of resting places. The Mississippi Flyway follows one of the great natural routes of the continent, using the Mississippi River system and the wetlands around it. The Atlantic Flyway traces the eastern side, linking northern breeding grounds with coastal marshes, bays, and wintering areas farther south. These flyways are invisible from the ground. No line is painted across the sky. A duck feels the route through conditions. A river valley gives direction. A coastline offers shape. A chain of lakes creates safe steps through a wide landscape. Mountains can guide movement by forming barriers and edges. Large wetlands become gathering places where many routes bend toward the same water. During migration, a duck's journey is rarely one clean flight from beginning to end. Most birds move in stages. A flock may fly through the night, drop into a marsh before dawn, feed for several days, then rise again when weather and energy allow. Rest stops are necessary because flight burns fuel quickly. A duck stores energy as body fat before and during migration. That fat comes from seeds, aquatic plants, grains, insects, small snails, and other foods gathered along the route. A bird arriving thin and tired at a wetland needs quiet water, cover from predators, and enough food to rebuild strength. Without those stops, the long path becomes harder to survive. Some wetlands become famous because of the number of birds they support. The prairie pothole region across parts of Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, and Montana is often called one of North America's great duck nurseries. Old glaciers left thousands of shallow basins there. In wet springs, those basins fill with water and become nesting and feeding places for mallards, blue-winged teal, gadwalls, shovelers, pintails, and canvasbacks. Farther along the routes, the Mississippi alluvial valley gives migrating ducks flooded forests, oxbow lakes, backwaters, and farm fields. Chesapeake Bay on the Atlantic side has long supported canvasbacks, black ducks, scaup, and other waterfowl that use its open water and marsh edges. A single wetland can hold birds from places far apart. One flock may include ducks that nested in the boreal forest of Canada. Another group nearby may have come from prairie marshes hundreds of kilometers west. A bird band, placed on a duck's leg in one region, may later be found far away, showing how widely these animals move. Banding has helped scientists trace migration for more than a century. The small metal band carries a number, and when the bird is recovered or reported, that number links 2 points on the map. Over time, thousands of these records have turned invisible travel into visible patterns. The flyways also show how connected wetlands are. A marsh in autumn may seem local, bordered by cattails, mud, and a few quiet farm roads. For migrating ducks, that same marsh may be part of a continental pathway. Its seeds can become fuel for a flight south. Its open water can give birds a safe night of rest. Its shoreline cover can protect them from wind and predators while they preen and sleep. Weather can concentrate birds in certain places. A sudden freeze may push ducks south in large numbers. A warm spell may hold them in place. Heavy rain can create temporary flooded fields filled with waste grain and invertebrates. Drought can shrink the route, forcing birds into fewer remaining wetlands. The sky highway changes with water on the ground. Even with inherited roots and strong bodies, ducks depend on these stopover places. They also depend on one another. A single bird can travel far, yet flocks offer more eyes, more signals, and more shared movement through weather and distance. The journey that looked like a private path through the sky begins to reveal a quieter truth. A duck's survival often rises and falls with the group around it. A duck's survival often depends on the group around it. On a pond at dusk, a flock may seem loose and simple. Some birds feed near the reeds. Others rest with their bills tucked into the feathers of the back. A few stay more upright, turning their heads slowly as the light fades. Inside that quiet gathering is a steady exchange of signals. Ducks communicate with sound, posture, movement, and timing. The familiar quack belongs mostly to female mallards. It can carry across water with a clear, nasal sound, helping keep contact with other ducks. Male mallards are usually quieter. Their calls are softer and raspier, often sounding more like a low reeb or gentle grunt than the sharp quack people imagine. Other ducks have very different voices. A northern pintail can make a soft whistle. A wood duck gives high, thin calls that can echo through wooded wetlands. A canvasback may sound rougher and lower. These calls help birds stay connected in cloudy weather, thick reeds, dim light, or crowded feeding areas. Sound is only part of the message. A duck's head and body can speak quietly too. During courtship, male mallards may bob their heads, lift their chests, shake droplets from their bills, or curl the tail slightly, so the small upward feathers are more visible. The bright green head, yellow bill, white neck ring, and chestnut breast of the male mallard are part of this display. In sunlight, those colors help signal health and maturity to females watching nearby. A female mallard is patterned in browns and tans, which helps her blend with dry grass, reeds, and leaves when nesting. Her quieter colors are a form of protection during the most vulnerable part of her year. Flocks also help ducks notice danger. One resting duck has only one pair of eyes. A group has many. If a hawk passes overhead, one bird may lift its head first. A small change can spread through the flock. Several birds pause feeding. Bodies turn in the same direction. If the danger grows closer, the whole group may rise from the water with loud wing beats and splashing feet. This kind of shared awareness lowers the chance that a predator can approach unseen. The same group living helps with finding food. Ducks often gather where feeding is good. A bird landing beside others may find a productive patch of water without testing every corner of the marsh alone. In flooded fields, many ducks may feed together on waste grain left after harvest. In shallow wetlands, a flock can move through floating plants and muddy edges, each bird responding to the movement of those nearby. A gathering of ducks becomes a moving sign that the place is useful. Group life also matters during migration. Young birds may travel with older ones that have flown the route before. Flocks can live together when weather improves. They may follow the same river bend, coast, lake chain, or dark line of wetlands below. Flying in groups can help birds maintain direction and respond quickly when a lead bird changes course. The shape of a flock can shift as wind and fatigue change. Some waterfowl fly in angled formations, which may help birds take advantage of air disturbed by the wings ahead of them. Resting flocks reveal another careful detail. Ducks sleeping near the edge of a group often stay more alert than birds in the safer center. In mallards, studies of one-eye open sleep showed that birds at the outside of a resting row kept the outward-facing eye open more often. The open eye watched the exposed side. The connected half of the brain stayed more awake. A duck inside the group could rest more fully because other birds stood between it and danger. The flock becomes a shared shelter made of bodies, sight, and trust. This social world is calm from a distance and busy up close. A soft call keeps contact. A lifted head spreads warning. A display feather catches light. A sleeping bird on the edge keeps part of itself awake for the group. Each duck remains an individual animal, yet the flock gives it a larger awareness than it could hold alone. That larger awareness begins in a much smaller place. Before a flock gathers on a lake or crosses a night sky, each bird starts as a warm egg in a hidden nest, waiting beneath the quiet body of its mother. Before the flock, before the migration, before the quiet row of sleeping birds on the water, there is a nest hidden close to the ground. A female mallard may choose a place in tall grass, under shrubs, beside reeds, or even in a planter or garden bed near human buildings. The nest is usually a shallow bowl made from nearby plant material. As egg-laying continues, she lines it with soft down feathers, pulled from her own breast. Those feathers help hold warmth around the eggs when she leaves briefly to feed. A mallard clutch often contains around 8 to 13 eggs. The eggs are pale greenish, buff, or creamy white, and each one holds a duckling developing inside a thin shell. Incubation usually lasts about 26 to 30 days. Incubation means the eggs are kept warm long enough for the young birds to grow. During this time, the mother sits low and still, her brown mottled feathers blending with dry leaves, grass, and shadows. When hatching begins, the duckling uses a small temporary bump on its bill called an egg tooth. This tiny tool helps it break the shell from the inside. The process can take many hours. The duckling first makes a small opening to breathe, then slowly works around the shell until it can push free. By the time the down dries, the young bird already looks surprisingly complete. Ducklings are precocial. That means they hatch in an advanced state compared with helpless young birds like robins or sparrows. Their eyes are open. Their bodies are covered in down. Their legs are strong enough to stand. Within a day, many ducklings can walk, swim, and begin pecking at tiny food items. A newly hatched mallard duckling may weigh only about 30 grams, close to the weight of a few coins, yet it can follow its mother through grass and into water almost immediately. This early ability is important because most ducks nest on the ground. A nest full of noisy young birds would be risky if it stayed in one place too long. Soon after the whole clutch hatches, the mother leads them away. The small group may walk across grass, gravel, farm lanes, or city paths to reach water. People often notice ducks most deeply during this stage. A mother moves ahead with careful steps. Behind her, the ducklings gather into a soft, uneven line. Their tiny feet move quickly. Their down catches the light. Their bodies seem almost too small for the wide world around them. The following behavior is guided by imprinting. Imprinting is a strong early learning process, where a young animal forms an attachment to a parent or parent-like moving figure. The Austrian scientist Konrad Lorenz became famous in the 20th century for studying imprinting in geese. He showed that young birds can follow the first suitable moving object they see during a short sensitive period. In nature, that moving figure is usually the mother. For ducklings, following is survival. The mother leads them to food. She guides them toward cover. She gives alarm calls when danger appears. Even with open eyes and quick feet, ducklings remain vulnerable. They cannot fly for several weeks. Their down helps keep them warm, but it does not protect them as well as adult feathers. Cold rain, deep water, strong currents, snapping turtles, large fish, herons, crows, gulls, foxes, raccoons, and domestic cats can all be serious dangers. The mother cannot feed them by placing food in their mouths, the way many songbirds feed chicks. Ducklings must peck and search for food themselves. They eat tiny insects, mosquito larvae, small crustaceans, soft plant material, and other small items along the water's edge. Their growth is fast because flight must come before the season changes too far. Mallard ducklings usually begin flying at around 7 to 8 weeks old. By then, the soft down has been replaced by juvenile feathers. The small floating bodies begin to look more like young ducks than yellow-brown balls of fluff. A duckling's early life shows a delicate balance. It arrives ready to move, yet still needs warmth, guidance, and protection. It can swim, yet must stay close. It can feed, yet must be led to the right places. This mixture of independence and need is part of why humans feel drawn to ducklings so quickly. They are wild animals, already shaped for wetlands, but their small size and close following behavior make them feel familiar. The sight of ducklings crossing a path creates a pause in human life. Cars stop. People watch. For a moment, a wetland story passes through the human world on tiny feet, and that closeness begins to explain why ducks have lived so deeply in human attention for thousands of years. The sight of ducklings crossing a path can stop people in place because ducks often live close to the human world. They gather where people gather too. Water has always drawn human life toward it. Rivers carry drinking water, fish, fertile soil, travel routes, and places to build towns. Lakes and ponds gather people for washing, fishing, farming, walking, and rest. Ducks are drawn to many of those same edges. A city canal, a farm pond, a slow river bend, or a park lake can become a meeting place between two very different species. This closeness is part of what makes ducks feel so familiar. Many wild animals remain hidden in forests, active at night, or far from human paths. Ducks often feed and rest in open places where people can see them clearly. A mallard may float only a few meters from a walking trail. A wood duck may appear at the shaded edge of a pond. A line of Canada geese and mallards may graze together near a public lake, leaving small tracks in soft soil beside the water. For many children, ducks are among the first wild birds they learn to name. The shape is easy to recognize. The rounded body, flat bill, webbed feet, and gentle rocking walk all stand out. Even the sound becomes part of memory. A female mallard's quack can carry across a small pond, while the softer calls of males blend into the background. Because ducks stay visible, they quietly teach people how to watch nature. A person sitting on a bench may notice one duck dipping its bill into the water again and again. A closer look reveals feeding. Another duck may turn its head backward and draw feathers through its bill. That is preening. In spring, a male mallard may follow a female across the water, lifting his head, shaking droplets, and showing the curled feathers near his tail. That is courtship behavior. Later in the year, many male ducks molt into duller eclipse plumage, a temporary set of feathers that makes them look more like females, while new flight feathers grow. A park pond can become a quiet classroom if the viewer stays long enough. The calm surface behavior makes ducks easy to watch, but the hidden biology gives the watching depth. A duck floating near a dock is managing buoyancy, feather oil, body heat, foot movement, and alertness. A bird that looks asleep may have part of the brain more awake than the other. A bird nibbling at mud may be filtering seeds and tiny animals through lamellae inside the bill. A bird standing on cold stone may be saving heat through countercurrent blood flow in the legs. The ordinary scene becomes richer with each small fact. Humans have watched ducks for a very long time. Ancient Egyptian art included waterfowl from the Nile marshes, where ducks, geese, papyrus, fish, and reeds were part of daily life. In many wetlands, people learned the seasons by watching which birds arrived and left. The return of ducks could signal spring. Large flocks gathering in autumn could mark the approach of colder weather. Before clocks, calendars, and weather apps shaped daily habits. Animal movement gave people practical information about changing seasons. Ducks also brought people into the habit of careful observation. Bird watchers learned to notice bill shape, wing color, body size, and posture. A green-winged teal moves differently from a mallard. A northern shoveler carries a wide spoon-shaped bill. A merganser rides low with a narrow fish-catching bill. Even common ducks reward attention because small differences become clear over time. Watching also reveals how human behavior changes duck life. A pond surrounded by paths may give ducks open water and fewer wild predators. But it can also bring dogs, traffic, litter, and unhealthy food. Bread fills a duck's stomach without giving the same nutrition as seeds, plants, and insects. Better foods, such as cracked corn, oats, peas, or chopped greens, are often safer when feeding is allowed. The relationship has always been mixed with care, use, curiosity, and habit. A duck near a public pond remains wild, yet it moves through a human-shaped place. People watch from benches and bridges. The bird watches back with dark side-set eyes, ready to paddle away if the distance becomes too small. This long closeness made ducks familiar enough to observe, then useful enough to keep. Over time, the bird at the water's edge moved into farms, courtyards, kitchens, and homes, becoming part of daily human life in a deeper way. Over time, the bird at the water's edge moved closer to human homes. A wild mallard feeding in a marsh and a white farm duck crossing a muddy yard may look very different, yet most domestic duck breeds trace mainly back to the mallard. The mallard's scientific name is Anas platyrhynchos. It is one of the most widespread ducks in the world, found across North America, Europe, Asia, and parts of North Africa. Because mallards live well near people, feed on many kinds of food, and adjust to ponds, fields, and farms, they became a natural starting point for domestication. Domestication means humans gradually shaped a wild animal over many generations by choosing traits they wanted. With ducks, people favored birds that grew larger, laid more eggs, stayed near home, tolerated people, or carried unusual colors. Over centuries, this turned one wild ancestor into many domestic forms. The Pekin duck, with its white feathers and orange bill, became one of the best-known farm ducks. The Rouen looks more like a large, heavy mallard with rich colors and a calm body shape. Indian runner ducks stand more upright, almost like bowling pins with feet, and have long been known for active foraging. Khaki Campbell ducks were developed in England in the late 19th and early 20th centuries and became famous for egg laying. A second domestic duck line comes from the Muscovy duck. The Muscovy's scientific name is Chirina moschata. It is native to Mexico, Central America, and South America. Muscovies look different from mallard-derived ducks, with heavier bodies, stronger claws, and red bumpy skin around the face called caruncles. Wild Muscovies often perch and nest in trees, which gives them a different feeling from pond ducks. People in the Americas kept Muscovies before Europeans arrived, and later the bird spread through farms in many parts of the world. On farms, ducks offered many practical gifts. Their eggs can be larger than chicken eggs, with rich yolks that bakers have often valued for cakes, noodles, and pastries. Their feathers and down have been used for bedding and warm clothing, because soft down traps air very well. Their manure adds nutrients to soil, especially nitrogen and phosphorus, though it works best when composted or managed carefully. Some farmers use ducks for pest control because they search actively for slugs, snails, insects, and larvae. In rice-growing regions, ducks have sometimes been used in paddies to eat pests and stir the water while the rice plants grow. A duck moving through shallow water can feed, fertilize, and gently disturb the mud at the same time. Farm ducks differ from chickens in daily behavior. Chickens often scratch dry ground with strong toes, lifting leaves and soil to find seeds and insects. Ducks probe, dabble, and wash food through the bill. A duck needs water deep enough to dip its bill and clear its nostrils. Without water for the face and bill, feed can clog or dry around sensitive parts. This strong connection to water makes ducks useful and messy in equal measure. A small flock can turn a clean patch of ground into wet mud after rain. Water bowls may become cloudy within minutes. A duck yard often carries footprints, splashes, feathers, and soft earth near every puddle. That mess has a purpose. The duck is still carrying wetland habits into the farm. Its bill wants water. Its feet expect mud. Its body is shaped for damp edges, even when the edge belongs to a barnyard instead of a marsh. People have also kept ducks for companionship and beauty. Call ducks, with their small bodies and round heads, were once used by hunters because their voices could attract wild ducks. Today, many are kept as ornamental birds. Crested ducks carry a puff of feathers on the head. Cayuga ducks can shine dark green in sunlight. In a quiet backyard, a small group of ducks may follow familiar people, gather at feeding time, and settle near a pond or kiddie pool with soft murmuring sounds. Their closeness to humans did not erase their older nature. A domestic duck still preens. It still searches water with its bill. It still moves with the same webbed feet and feathered body shaped by wet places. When ducks entered daily human life, they became useful animals, familiar companions, sources of food, living decorations, and quiet reminders of the marsh. From there, they moved even deeper into human memory, appearing in kitchens, stories, songs, childhood scenes, and symbols carried far beyond the pond. From farms and courtyards, ducks moved into human culture in many forms. They entered kitchens, paintings, market stalls, storybooks, songs, toys, and quiet personal memories near water. In food traditions, ducks have often been valued because they offer rich meat, large eggs, and fat that can be used for cooking. In China, roasted duck has been prepared for centuries, with Peking duck becoming especially famous for its crisp skin, thin pancakes, scallions, and sweet bean sauce. The dish became closely associated with Beijing, especially during the Ming Dynasty, which began in 1368. In France, duck confit became a traditional food of the Southwest. Confit means food preserved by slow cooking and storing in fat. Before modern refrigeration, this method helped meat last longer through colder months. A duck leg cooked slowly in its own fat could become tender, flavorful, and easier to store. Salted duck eggs are common in parts of China and Southeast Asia. The eggs are cured in salt or brine until the yolk turns firm, rich, and bright orange. Duck eggs are often larger than chicken eggs, and their yolks contain more fat, which can give baked goods, noodles, and custards a fuller texture. Across different regions, ducks became part of local taste because they lived well near water, farms, rice fields, and village edges. They also entered human memory through stories. Hans Christian Andersen published The Ugly Duckling in 1843. The young bird in that story turns out to be a swan. Yet the tale uses the image of a duckling because it feels familiar, small, and vulnerable. Beatrix Potter published The Tale of Jemima Puddle Duck in 1908, giving readers a farmyard duck with a bonnet, a nest, and a gentle kind of innocence. In 1941, Robert McCloskey published Make Way for Ducklings, a picture book about a mallard family in Boston. The story became so closely tied to the city that bronze statues of the mother duck and her ducklings now stand in the Boston Public Garden. Children climb on them. Parents take pictures beside them. A simple duck family became part of the physical memory of a real place. Ducks also became playful figures in modern life. Rubber ducks became common bath toys during the 20th century, especially after soft vinyl toys became easier to make. A small yellow duck floating in bathwater turned the real animal's rounded body and water-loving nature into a symbol of comfort and childhood. Cartoon ducks became famous too, partly because a duck's bill, walk, voice, and quick movements are easy to exaggerate. Donald Duck first appeared in animation in 1934 and became one of the most recognizable cartoon animals in the world. Even without thinking about biology, people recognize something expressive in the duck shape. The flat bill can look curious. The waddle can look comic. The floating body can look peaceful. The cultural role of ducks is unusual because it holds practical use and gentleness together. A duck can be farm animal, meal, backyard companion, wild bird, storybook character, and springtime sign. Few animals move so easily between daily usefulness and soft memory. A child may first meet ducks at a pond, tossing approved food near the edge while the birds paddle closer. An adult may remember ducks as the sound of a park in April, the sight of ducklings behind their mother, or the dark silhouettes of birds crossing a lake at sunset. Even people who know little about birds often feel they know ducks. That feeling comes from closeness. Ducks live at the edges of places humans also visit. They make wildness feel reachable. Their bodies carry ancient evolution and careful science. Yet they remain familiar enough to appear on a baby blanket, a restaurant menu, a nursery rhyme, and a city pond. This affection gives the duck a special kind of power. When a wetland disappears, the loss is more than mud and reeds on a map. It reaches into the places where ducks nest, feed, rest, and raise young. It also touches the human memories built around seeing them there. The same bird that made people smile from a bridge depends on water, shelter, plants, insects, and quiet shorelines that can vanish when the land is changed. The places ducks depend on are among the most useful habitats on Earth. They are also among the easiest for people to overlook. A marsh may look like open water mixed with reeds. A swamp may look like flooded trees. A shallow pond may seem small beside a road or farm field. Yet each wet place can hold nests, eggs, roots, insects, frogs, fish, seeds, and resting birds within a few meters of mud and water. For ducks, these places are the foundation of life. A female mallard needs hidden cover for her nest. A duckling needs shallow edges rich with tiny insects. A migrating pintail needs open water where it can rest between long flights. A canvasback may need deeper water, with underwater plants and small animals. A wintering black duck may need coastal marshes, tidal creeks, and sheltered bays where food remains available when inland ponds freeze. Each stage of life asks the wetland for something different. Across many parts of the world, wetlands have been drained, filled, cut apart, or polluted. People have dug ditches to dry marshes for farmland. Cities have spread over low, wet ground. Roads and rail lines have divided ponds from floodplains. River channels have been straightened, dammed, or walled in place. Fertilizer from fields can wash into shallow water and feed heavy algae growth. Oil, road salt, plastics, and industrial chemicals can change water that once supported plants, insects, and fish. A wetland can disappear quickly under soil and concrete. It can also fade slowly as clean water becomes cloudy. Native plants thin out, and nesting cover breaks into smaller pieces. Fragmentation is one quiet form of loss. A wetland may still exist on a map, yet become less useful when it is separated from other wetlands nearby. Ducks often move through a chain of places. A breeding marsh, a feeding pond, a resting lake, and a winter bay may all belong to the same life story. When too many links are weakened, the journey becomes harder. A flock can fly over a drained basin. A tired bird can circle a polluted pond and keep moving. A mother with ducklings can reach a shoreline where the reeds are gone and open grass leaves less cover. These changes matter because ducks rely on details. A few centimeters of water depth can affect which food a dabbling duck can reach. Thick grasses can hide a nest from a fox or raccoon. Clear water can let underwater plants gather sunlight. Soft mud can hold seeds through winter until migrating birds return. Wetlands also protect life beyond ducks. Frogs lay eggs in shallow pools. Dragonfly nymphs hunt underwater before becoming winged adults. Fish use marsh edges as nurseries. Cattails, sedges, rushes, willows, wild rice, and pondweeds hold soil and soften wave action. Bacteria in wetland soils help break down waste and cycle nutrients. The mud itself can store carbon, especially in peatlands where dead plant material builds up slowly in waterlogged ground. Because oxygen moves poorly through saturated soil, decay can happen slowly, allowing carbon-rich material to remain buried for long periods. Wetlands also help with water. During heavy rain, a marsh or floodplain can spread and hold excess water, reducing the force of floods downstream. As water moves through roots, soil, and microbes, some pollutants and extra nutrients can be trapped or transformed. A healthy wetland works like a living filter and a soft storage basin at the same time. Protecting ducks, then, reaches far beyond one bird on one pond. It supports the insects ducklings eat. It supports the plants that hold nests out of sight. It supports the resting places used during migration. It supports the water quality that fish, amphibians, turtles, and people rely on. The duck becomes a quiet sign of the whole system. When ducks return to a marsh in spring, their presence suggests that enough water, food, shelter, and seasonal rhythms still remain. When they vanish from a place they once used, the silence can point to changes deeper than the missing birds themselves. The story that began with a familiar shape on the water now gathers into something larger. A duck floating calmly on a pond carries evolution, feathers, heat, migration, food webs, human memory, and the future of wetlands in one small body. That same image can settle again in the center of the story, no longer simple, still peaceful, and filled with everything the water has been holding. A duck floating calmly on a pond now carries the whole journey in one small shape. The rounded body rests on the surface because water pushes upward against it. Air held among the feathers adds lift. The broad chest spreads weight gently across the pond. Each tiny ripple around the bird belongs to physics as much as it belongs to the evening water. The feathers that seem soft and ordinary have become a careful shelter. Outer feathers overlap in layers, guiding water away. Down feathers beneath them hold warm air close to the skin. The preen gland near the tail gives the duck oil to spread through its feather coat, and the bill arranges those feathers back into place. A few quiet minutes of preening can help keep the bird dry, warm, and ready to fly. The feet beneath the surface carry another part of the story. Their webbing opens wide during each backward push. Then the toes draw closer as the foot returns for another stroke. The same feet that waddle over grass become smooth paddles underwater. Inside those feet, cooler blood helps reduce heat loss, while warmer blood returning upward helps protect the body's core. A duck standing on ice is quietly managing warmth with every heartbeat. The bill has become easier to see differently too. It is a feeding tool filled with touch. Lamellae along the edges strain tiny food from water and mud. Sensitive nerves help the duck feel seeds, stems, small shells, insect larvae, and soft plant matter in cloudy shallows. A dabbling mallard tipping forward with its tail in the air is sorting through a hidden layer of life below the surface. A diving duck slipping under the water is entering another part of the same wetland. Canvasbacks may search for underwater plant parts. Scaup may take small clams and snails. Mergansers use narrow bills with saw-like edges to hold fish. A pond that once looked flat has opened into layers. Reeds at the edge, seeds in the mud, insects among stems, fish below the light, and roots holding the shoreline in place. Ducks move through that world as feeders, travelers, and carriers of small life. Seeds can pass through their bodies. Mud can cling to their feet. Tiny resting eggs of aquatic animals may travel in hidden places. In rare cases, even fish eggs may survive a journey through a duck and reach another body of water. A bird lifting from one marsh can carry traces of that place into another marsh miles away. Migration stretches this connection farther. Changing daylight helps prepare the body. Weather shapes the timing. Stored fat fuels long flights. Rivers, coastlines, lakes, stars, learned routes, and perhaps Earth's magnetic field help guide the way. Across flyways, ducks connect northern nesting grounds with southern winter waters, using wetlands like quiet stepping stones across the map. The flock adds another layer of survival. Calls, whistles, head movements, posture, and shared alertness help ducks stay connected. A bird resting on the edge of a group may keep one eye open toward danger, while the safer birds inside the group sleep more deeply. Every flock begins with eggs warmed in a nest. Ducklings hatch with open eyes, downy bodies, and the ability to walk and swim within hours. They follow their mother through grass and water, because imprinting gives their first movements a direction. Humans have watched these scenes for thousands of years. Ducks appear in ancient marsh art, farmyards, rice fields, children's books, city parks, bath toys, cartoons, and meals shared across cultures. Most domestic duck breeds descend from mallards. Muscovy ducks come from a separate line with roots in the Americas. People have kept ducks for eggs, meat, feathers, pest control, beauty, and companionship. Their usefulness never erased their wetland nature. A farm duck still wants water for its bill. A backyard duck still preens. A city pond duck still carries the old habits of marsh and shore. Wetlands remain the center of the story. They hold nests, ducklings, insects, plants, fish, amphibians, shelter, floodwater, and carbon-rich soils. When wetlands are drained, polluted, or broken into small pieces, ducks lose more than a place to land. They lose feeding grounds, nursery space, migration stops, and winter shelter. Protecting ducks means protecting the living water around them. So the simple image returns. A duck floats near the reeds. Its body is ancient. Its feathers are maintained with care. Its feet save warmth and move water. Its bill reads the pond. Its migrations link distant places. Its presence reminds us that ordinary animals can hold deep science when we slow down enough to notice. The pond grows quiet again. The duck drifts across the reflected sky. Everything hidden within it remains there, soft and steady, held at the edge of water.